This is WOR-TV Channel 9, Secaucus, New York City, New York, and it's time now.
Now, from WOR-TV, Tom Dunn, Sarah Lee Kessler, weather with Lloyd Lindsay Young, and Steve Albert on sports. This is News 9, prime time.
Good afternoon, everybody, on this Tuesday, July 30th, 1985. Here's what's happening on News 9 at noon. 2 tigers killed a zookeeper in the Wild Asia exhibit at the Bronx Zoo. The victim, Robert Silverman, 24, recently received a degree in animal behavior from Fordham University. Dr. William Conway, a director of the zoo, said she was a very bright and competent person, but had violated key rule of animal care by entering an enclosure without establishing the location of the tigers. A group of women passed the test at the Sanitation Workers Examination Center at Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn. 38-year-old Margie Martinez of Queens lifted and tossed 147 garbage bags weighing a total of 2,975 pounds into simulated trash bins in 27 minutes. She scored a perfect 100%. An auxiliary police officer said he saw various transit police officers kick, slap, and throw Michael Stewart on his head when he was handcuffed from behind after the 25-year-old Brooklyn man was arrested on a charge of scrawling graffiti on a station wall. The witness, Robert Rodriguez, testified he could not identify the police officers. A suit accused Nassau Republican leaders of forcing county and municipal employees to contribute 1% of their pay to the Republican Party from 1973 to 1983 went to trial in Uniondale, Long Island, after intensive efforts to reach an out-of-the-court settlement collapsed. In news around the city, 3 men were arrested yesterday on charges of practicing law without a license. District Attorney John J. Santucci of Queens said yesterday that 3 did not work together, his office said. One of those charged was identified as 42-year-old Richard P. Berman of 9815 Horace Hardin Expressway in Rego Park. He was said to have received $1,000 to prepare a trust agreement for women and have been paid $175 by an undercover investigator prepare a will. A second man, Robert Freddie, age 30, at a 10200 Shore Front Parkway in the Brockways, was said to have brought a suit against a Long Island hotel. A third, 60-year-old Leo Lawson of 1354 94th Avenue in Jamaica was said to have represented a man in a civil suit involved in the sale of a house and to have taken retainer in a personal injury suit. Court records show that Mr. Lewison resigned from the bar in 1967 after being charged with improprieties in his practice. As according to a spokesman for the Appellate Division of State Supreme Court, the other men have never been licensed as lawyers, Mr. Santucci said. A 56-year-old woman fatally shot herself in the chest yesterday, moments after City Marshal tried to serve an eviction notice at her apartment in the Morrisania section of the Bronx. The police said the tenant, Mary Finch of 840 Grand Concourse, killed herself on the door of her bedroom about 3 p.m. according to police spokesman Sergeant Ron Severin. The victim's daughter, 6-year-old granddaughter, and her daughter Victoria were another part of the apartment at the time, he said. And investigators have ruled the shooting a suicide. Sergeant Severin said Marshal Martin Hyatt was attempted to serve an eviction notice on the woman for non-payment of rent when she shut the door. Moments later, the marshal heard a single shot. A .30 caliber revolver with 1 empty chamber was found beside the women, Sergeant Severin said. In news around the region, in Ridgefield, Connecticut, a propane gas tank exploded today at a Main Street restaurant yesterday, destroying the building and injuring at least 1 passerby. Local,
Safest place in America. This one incident's not going to ruin our reputation.
40 cents. And Ridgefield, Connecticut is on the border with Virginia.
Yes. You know who it is?
A 2-square block area was evacuated after the 10:34 a.m. explosion, which damaged several cars and trucks and demolished an adjacent store. Ridgefield Police Chief Thomas Rotunda said the tanks were being filled by a propane truck when the explosion occurred in the restaurant Galway's Pub, which had not yet opened for the day. There were some people who could smell the fumes and got out of there, he said. Nick Gaeta, ambulance
And the commissioner was right.
supervisor with the Ridgefield Fire Department, said a propane leak caused explosion and fire. He said an only injury he knew was sustained by an unidentified passerby. In Hartford, the state appellate court yesterday upheld a lower court's order barring Yale Literary Magazine from using the word Yale in its name because the publication had not complied with university regulations. The editors of the magazine, published by an American Literary Society Incorporated, contended the school was trying to suppress the conservative outlook of the magazine, known popularly as the Yale But Yale argued that the magazine traditionally an undergraduate publication was no longer run by students and published a few student writers. Further, the school said the magazine was operating outside of the student organization regulations. The appellate court upheld Judge Howard Zwarowski's decision in Superior Court and rejected the magazine's contention that the evidence presented during the trial had failed to support the judge's findings. The magazine continued to publish under its original name pending the outcome of the appeal. In Trenton, a 19-year-old computer enthusiast who said he was addicted to the space war game and used a stolen credit card numbers of charged playing time was placed on probation on an order to make resolution after pleading guilty to wire fraud, a federal official said yesterday. The man, Kenneth Golden, was placed on 3 years of probation and fined $500 by federal judge Marianne Trump Berry.
Patrick may have socialized with Bulger, asking him why a manuscript found in Bulger's California apartment
In New York, day by day, north of the sheep meadow, the New Orleans Jazz Ensemble of Argentine had just turned a thunderous ovation when a police officer sauntered over. Applause turned to boos and hisses. The crowd suspected that the impromptu concert was about to end. But after speaking to the musicians, the officer smiled or dropped the dollar bill into the banjo case. The crowd applauded. Minutes later, however, a park ranger arrived. After settled with a musician, the gray-bearded banjo player announced that the band had asked to leave. It was too much of a good thing. William Castro, the director of the Urban Park Service and the Department of Parks and Recreation. Our problem there has been a proliferation of bands in Central Park this summer. We don't want to allow bands to continue, but you're going to see more bands being stopped because they are too close to the perimeter of the park or because they are bringing it on the quiet zones. Mr. Castro said complaints about brass bands, jazz bands, and drum ensembles have come from residents of Central Park West and Fifth Avenue as well as from park boards who favor calm over concerts. As for the Argentine group, Mr. Castro said he had personally ordered rangers to stop the performance because the music could be heard on the sheet metal. It seemed logical to have quiet zone when you're not allowed to have radios and tape players, but when you can hear a band playing, he said. Given this delicate balance and act between one person's Dixieland and another distraction, Mr. Kessler made a compromise. He allowed the musicians to finish their set.
Infant on life support.
It reminds me immediately of the people on the streets, people who start to become part of the pavement, observed Scott McCann, a bicycle messenger, as he pulled a camera from his sack. When art looks natural like this,
Support at Boston's Children's Hospital suffering
when it blends in, it can be really powerful. He was reacted to masked figures, a sculpture by David Finn installed in a small lot in the corner of Elizabeth and Houston Street. The sculpture is composed of 9 life-size figures, 7 included wire fence and 2 chained outside of it. Some figures wear masks, one lies on the ground. They are arranged in several groupings. The artist who works remained from discarded materials like cans of paper said he was concerned with the relationship between appearance and substance and personal and flesh. Very unconsciously, people will come up and almost mimic the postures of some of the figures, Mr. Finn said, in the one grouping of 3 figures and kneel over another caused some passersby to stop and kneel to inspect them. Homeless men from nearby shelters stopped before the lifelike arc straight and walked on. It's an apparent reflection of the environment as caused the taste of the passerby observed. Some people started to be the word calling it weird and ugly and even shouting from the cars that they stopped the light. But Wendy Shea, a stage designer from Dublin, had returned to the photograph and sculpture. I think a lot of people made up plots and Jepson, she said. Rubbish. The young woman who was fastest to a point after boarding the Manhattan J train, she took out a tissue and thoroughly wiped off the seat before taking the place for the white and the queen. Then she casually covered it on the paper and threw it on the floor. One religious group had found room for the dry human in a drop. Sidewalk proselytizers handed out a truck title, Save Water, which has these hints. Men grow beards, don't shave. Demand that the producers of force of country dehydrated and powdered foods give back the water they took out. Use the dry cleaners more often. Decorate your home with lots of cactus. Visit a ship and dry dock. Seriously, Father, the pamphlet continues. As it warms up to his religious messages like many precious things alive. Water has been taken for granted. We all face the bigger question than a limited supply of water. The tract is even more essential.
Why the legislature's chief information officer
Is a living relationship with God. It was written by Jen Korn, founder of the Jews for Jesus Committee for Life-Saving Water during the drought emergency in 1981. It was recently reported to be handed out to the current emergency, as Bob Mendelson, a member of the group, noted that preaching from church of the current events was never new. Jesus used that style all the time, he said. In international news at 12:09 p.m. The U.S. and the Kremlin offered new proposals on nuclear weapons tests. The White House announced that President Reagan had suggested that Moscow send observers to witness an underground nuclear test in Nevada. Hours later, Mikhail Gorbachev, the Soviet leader, announced he would impose a one-sided
Boston.
5-month moratorium on the nuclear arms test started on August 6th, the 40th anniversary of the United States bombing of Hiroshima. He said the moratorium could be extended if the United States also halted the nuclear weapons test. South Africa's president rejected a call for urgent talks with President Bishop Desmond Tutu aimed at diffusing rising tensions over the mass arrest of descendants. Bishop Tutu, a prominent South African black leader who won the 1984 Nobel Peace Prize, won the decision by PW vote for the president demonstrates very clearly the issues and crises of this land. A suspected Basque rebel killed a vice admiral who was one of Spain's top military officials. The police said a vehicle carrying the 3 men and a woman cut off a car carrying Vice Admiral Fausto Escrigas Estrada and riddled it with submachine gun fire in downtown Madrid. His chauffeur was critically wounded. Many airports, including here in New York, have tightened security since the hijacking last month of a Trans World Airlines jetliner and the crash of an Air India plane off Ireland, according to a survey by New York Times correspondent. But the survey found that slackness in procedure and lackadaisical attitude on the part of some personnel were still evident at some airports.
Skip the ticket line, go right in and have some.
The rural poor in Scotland's Western Isles have suffered from unemployment and underemployment for decades that have been serious as a blighted the urban poor. The island chain is scenically splendid, geographically isolated and economically underprivileged. A main Challenger engine failed 5 minutes 45 seconds into its flight in the first major malfunction during the ascent in the history of the Space Shuttle's program. The 100-ton spacecraft limped under to remaining main engines into a low, irregular orbit of the Earth. Officials said that the Challenger's crew was safe and that they tentatively planned to proceed with the mission.
He was going 95 miles an hour.
President Reagan refers to back the 2 central elements of the latest budget proposed by the Senate Republican leadership. Tax increases including oil import fee and alternate year payments and the cost of living increases in Social Security benefits. Mr. Reagan's position angered some senior Republicans. Both secretarial health care costs initiated by the Reagan administration have touched off debate among health care professionals and members of Congress over whether the quality of care is being endangered. More than 60% of 7,800 doctors responding to a preliminary survey said that the quality of health care had deteriorated, or they feared such a decline was likely under the cost controls.
Down at the State House.
Soviet bloc students and scholars would not have access to virtually all supercomputers in the United States under a policy proposed by the Pentagon and several government intelligence agencies. The proposal designed to protect the United States technology has generated protests from officials at 3 universities charging that the restrictions could violate American and academic freedom. The longest lesson auto tire is manufactured by Michelin and it can run 66,000 miles under average driving conditions according to tests by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Development and growth of the brain continue to old age according to Matt evidence was once thought that the brain was fixed by late childhood according to innate genetic designs.
One would think would be in the industry.
Business news at 12:12 p.m. Stock prices fell sharply as weakness last week poured into the overall market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 13.22 points to 1343.86 yesterday, and its biggest decline in more than 6 weeks. Shares that fell outnumbered those that rose nearly 4-to-1. Volume was moderate, however. Sectors that were hit hard included food, technology, transportation, and utilities. Treasury note and bond prices continue to slide by as government security details search for levels that would be attracting investors to next week's heavy supply of new treasury issues. The dollar rose in the United States after sliding in Europe. Gold was quoted at $323.50 in New York, up $2.25 from Friday. Future prices of agricultural commodities under pressure from excessive supplies continue to drop sharply. 2 television producers offered $453 million for the Evening News Association, which owns 5 TV stations and the Detroit News. A Daily Norman Lear and a Gerald Penrentio, the producers, recently showed their MC Communications and Tandem Productions to Coca-Cola for $45 million. The Rockefeller Group plans to raise $1.1 billion as complex deals that ultimately could result in a 6% public ownership of Rockefeller Center.
Next Chronicle. Restaurants worth the
Gold Standard owns 9.9% of CBS's common stock and expects to tender their shares under CBS's exchange offers. Saturn's headquarters will be in the Detroit suburbs as well as engineering operations, and the manufacturing plant will be in Springfield, Tennessee, General Motors said. President Reagan refuses to support 2 central elements of a Senate budget plan, an oil import fee, and a delay of the Social Security cost of living increase. That refusal ended this year's Republican-led effort in the Senate to assemble a 3-year deficit reduction package of more than $300 billion. It was unclear whether the conference would be able to agree on a budget before the August recess cycle to start Friday. The economy is approaching a vigorous pace despite a record foreign trade deficit as Beryl W. Sprinkle, chairman of the President's Council of Economic Advisors said in releasing an emissions reversion of forecast of 3% growth from the fourth quarter of the last year to the fourth quarter of 1985. That assumes a 5% rate in the second half, and a figure that most private economists consider too optimistic. Demonstration imposes change in an antitrust law to limit the liability of companies convicted of past fixing of our anti-competitive act, the Justice Department told a Senate panel.
Come to know over the years. And we'll continue.
Peru's decision limited foreign debt payments at 10% of export earnings adds a new element of urgency that the regional debt crisis, senior Latin American officials say. Japan adopted measures to counter criticism of its trade practices. The provisions are intended to relax import procedures, simplify product standards, and promote Japanese buying of foreign goods. American officials said that they could not have yet evaluated what the impact of the plan would be if they were skeptical that would have an immediate effect on Japan's huge trade surplus. Union Carbide will ask for dismissal of all claims filed against it in the United States as a result of the Bhopal India gas leak. The company said in its first legal response to the lawsuits. America's manufacturing weakness reflects in the intensity of the global competition, said James F. Berry, chairman of Borg & Wagner. In a present environment of low inflation, he said, a price increase is not an option for professional managers. Companies involved in an optic fiber have strong prospects, analysts say, despite last week's announcement that a construction of one of the largest networks was being put on hold. A few big companies dominate the manufacture of fiber cable, and hundreds of small ones compete to sell fiber-related equipment. Okay, in sports. Tonight, the Mets will be at Chase Stadium to take on the Montreal Expos. Dracula and Man Friday. Mets will go to Man Friday. Expos game can see right here on Channel 9, started at 7:30 p.m. This afternoon and evening, the Yankees will be in Cleveland, taking on the Cleveland Indians at a doubleheader. Kelly and Shirley on man for the Yankees, while Keaton and Romero on man for the Indians. Okay, now, what are we with Lloyd Linsman? Hello, everybody! It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Tuesday on tap. It's a gorgeous Tuesday on tap. Beautiful sun, low humidity, perfect day. Okay, noontime reports on this July the 30th, 1985. It's 83 at Central Park, 83 at LaGuardia, 82 at JFK, 82 out in Newark, 83 out in Teterboro. It is 82 out in White Plains. This slip has 82 degrees, and it's 79 in Bridgeport, and 80 up in New Haven, Connecticut. Alright, satellite photo shows cloud producing light rain.
Say the parties have agreed, though, to negotiate.
Was visible over New England. Clouds extended from New Jersey to the Carolinas and Tennessee. Producing rain over New Jersey and Carolinas.
Recognizable sites.
And clouds may extend from Kansas and Oklahoma to Montana into Idaho. Showers of thunderstorms with a sphere over Kansas, and skies were particularly over the southwest yesterday. Weather eyes on the nation today. Rain and thunderstorms extend today from the Southland states to the western Gulf states
Related to similar events.
and the lower Mississippi Valley. Rain and thunderstorms extend from Illinois and Wisconsin to the upper Mississippi Valley, the northern plains states, the northern Rockies, and the northern part of the region. Rain is forecast for Oregon, and high temperatures between the 80s and the 90s in much of the country will reach 100 in the southwest around Phoenix. Alright, New York City and vicinity forecast go like this. For today, partly sunny skies, high of 83, 87 degrees. Southwest winds about 10 miles per hour, and the high will be about 70 to 87 degrees. For tonight, mostly clear skies. 55 to 60 in the suburbs, to 65 sunny in Midtown Manhattan. For tomorrow, partly sunny skies will be about high about 78 to 85 degrees there. And next Saturday forecast Thursday, chance of rain, Friday pot cloudy, and Saturday pot cloudy skies. Bold winds southwest are becoming northwesterly at 10 to 12 knots, visibly 3 miles in the morning, haze becoming 5 miles, wave height 2 feet or less than a sound in the ocean.
Today, lawmakers in both houses are expected.
Beaches in the mountains, Long Island Sound will be up. Morning clouds 85, 60. South Shore, New Jersey, shores, Catskills, Poconos have partly mostly sunny skies. Have highs range from 82 to 85, and lows about 50 to 67 degrees. And Poconos mostly sunny skies, high 85, 55 degrees. Berkshire's morning clouds 85, 50 degrees, and Green Mountains partly sunny 83 to 50 degrees. Water temperatures yesterday, Jones Beach, lower 70s, Madison, Connecticut, near 70, and in Atlantic State, 70 degrees. Garden and Guide, apple trees follow the spray scheduled to protect developing crop from diseases and insects. For peaches, check early ripening varieties for first harvest and pole beans. Be sure the climbing vines are secure in poles to aid development and crop. And radishes soar over hail, row for continued harvest throughout the summer months. Sunset 8:14 p.m. Rise tomorrow morning about 5:51 a.m. and moon rises
35 or something.
tomorrow tonight 7:57 p.m. Sets tomorrow morning about 5:06 a.m. Rise tomorrow 8:38 p.m. First quarter moon July 24th. Full moon July 31st 5:41 p.m.
outside. Looks like
That's full moon August 8th and new moon August 16th. Venus rise tomorrow 2:47 a.m. and set about 5:34 p.m. Mars rise 5:28 a.m. set about 8:04 p.m. and Jupiter rise at 8:19 p.m. Saturn rise 2:31 p.m.
West, and they've been pushing that.
And that's great for News 9 New Report for this July 3rd, 1985. I'm Tom Dunn alongside Sir Lee Kessler and Lloyd Lindsay Youngson. Have a good day. See you at 8 for News 9 prime time.
Temperatures
Goodbye, everybody.